The first time you experience the rewards of setting and maintaining clear boundaries, you may think you're dreaming. But a great deal of hard work and risk-taking will have gone into reaching them. And the rewards are worth it. You will be able to see visible, demonstrable proof that your boundary work is bearing fruit. You will have moved from point A, boundarylessness, to point B, mature boundaries. In fact, you can measure that progression. Specific, orderly changes herald the emergence of mature boundaries. Right now, we'll look at 6 steps you can use to measure your growth in boundary development. Next time, we'll look at another 6.
One of the first signs that you're beginning to develop boundaries is a sense of resentment, frustration, or anger at the subtle and not so subtle violations in your life. Just as radar signals the approach of a foreign missile, your anger can alert you to boundary violations in your life. In fact, hurt, anger, and resentment are often seeds of boundaries. People who can't get angry when they are violated, manipulated, or controlled have a genuine handicap. No warning light alerts them to boundary problems. This inability to get angry is generally a sign that we are afraid of the separateness that comes with telling the truth. We fear that saying the truth about our unhappiness with someone will damage the relationship. But when we acknowledge that truth is always our friend, we often give ourselves permission to be angry. So, before you say anything confrontive, even before you set that first boundary, examine your heart. Ask yourself, do I have permission to feel angry when I'm controlled by others? Am I aware when I'm being violated? Can I hear my early warning signal? If so, you're on the right track. But if not, this is a good time to work on finding a safe place to tell the truth. As you're better able to be honest about differences and disagreements, you'll be better able to allow your anger to help you.
The second sign of growth is a change of tastes. You'll find yourself becoming drawn to boundary lovers. People with immature limit-setting abilities often find themselves involved with boundary busters. As boundary-injured individuals begin developing their own boundaries, however, a change occurs. They become attracted to people who can hear their no without being critical, without getting hurt, without personalizing it, and without running over their boundaries in a manipulative or controlling fashion. People who will simply say, "Okay, we'll miss you. See you next time." When we find relationships in which we have freedom to set limits, something wonderful happens. In addition to the freedom to say no, we find the freedom to say a wholehearted, unconflicted, gratitude-driven yes to others. We become attracted to boundary lovers because in them we find permission to be honest, authentic, loving individuals. To a boundary-injured person, people who can say a clear no sometimes seem curt and cold. But as the boundaries become more firm, curt and cold people change into caring and refreshingly honest people. We need to join with such boundary lovers in deep and meaningful attachments.
As we find our tastes changing from boundary-muddied relationship to more clearly defined people, we begin developing close and meaningful connections with people who have clear boundaries. Put simply, we join the boundaried family, and that's the third measurement of growth we can take. Why is joining the family important? Well, mainly because, as with any spiritual discipline, boundaries can't be worked on in a vacuum. We need others with the same biblical values of limit setting and responsibility to encourage us, practice with us, and stay with us. When 2 or 3 gather in Jesus' name, He's in their midst. The combination of His Spirit and the emotional memories of those who believe in us help us keep firm boundaries. Why? Because we know we have a spiritual and an emotional home somewhere. No matter how caustic the criticism or how severe the rejection of the one we're in conflict with, we aren't alone. And that makes all the difference in the world in boundary setting.
After you feel safe being around people who believe that grace and truth are good, your values will start to change. You will begin to see that taking responsibility for yourself is healthy. You will begin to treasure your treasures. Let me explain. In order to further develop and strengthen healthy boundaries, we need to begin to value what we are responsible for. Our feelings, our talents, thoughts, attitude, our behavior, our body, and the resources God has entrusted to us. This valuing, saying that these treasures matter, and deciding to pay attention to them helps us take the steps we need to take to protect these treasures and to grow in them. After all, what you value in life is what you will invest in. Begin a list of your treasures, your time, your money, your feelings, your beliefs. How do you want others to treat them? How do you want others to not treat them?
As you realize how you want your treasures to be treated, you need to take steps towards communicating those boundaries. But at first, those steps need to be baby steps. Growth in setting emotional boundaries must always be at a rate that takes into account our past injuries. Otherwise, you could fail massively before you have solid enough boundaries. A good place to start is with your support group or your good friends. Ask them if you could work on boundaries with them. They will show you their true value in response to your truth-telling. Either they'll warmly cheer you on in being able to disagree with and confront them, or they'll resist you. Either way, you'll learn something. A good supportive relationship cherishes the no of all the parties involved. So, start practicing your no with people who will honor it and love you for it.
The last measurement we'll look at today may surprise you. It involves rejoicing in the guilty feelings you'll have as you start setting boundaries. As strange as it may seem, a sign that you're becoming a boundaried person is often a sense of self-condemnation, a sense that you've transgressed some important rules in your limit setting. Many people experience intense, critical self-judgment when they begin telling the truth about what is and isn't their biblical responsibility. The culprit here is an overactive and unbiblically harsh internal judge. Now, we need an internal evaluator to help us know right from wrong, but many people carry around an extremely self-critical and inaccurate conscience. They feel that they are transgressing when they're not. Because of this overactive judge, the boundary-injured individual has great difficulty setting limits. You can imagine the havoc when the struggler actually sets a limit or two, even a small one. The conscience moves into overdrive as its unrealistic demands are being disobeyed. In a funny way, then, activating the hostile conscience is a sign of spiritual growth, a signal that you may be protesting unbiblical restraints and that you are defying an incorrect authority, that condemning conscience, in order to obey God. So, rejoice in your guilt. It means you're moving ahead.